Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. This weekend we have a big one. I'm sure all of you guys are just as highly anticipating UFC 314 just as much as I am. Now, let's get straight into that main event. So many questions coming in on the side of the great Alexander Volkanovski. I think if we're looking at who is the better fighter between Volkanovski and Diego Lopes, I don't think there's a very big question or mystery surrounding that. But obviously at this level, in this game, it is not just your skills. Like we've said, I think Alexander Volkanovski, skill for skill, has this fight covered wherever it goes. But Diego Lopes, someone who is very, very dangerous in all areas and aspects of MMA. The big question is how's that going to match up against Volkanovski and the stage of his career that he is in, coming off two deadly, brutal knockout losses. And he's about to be 37, man. Like, all of these things are real questions that you have to pay a lot of attention to breaking down a fight like this. Because 2 years ago, if this fight was announced, it wouldn't have as much mystery in determining the winner, if I'm being totally honest. Like, I think 2 years ago, this wouldn't have been much of a question that Volkanovski has all of the ability to get this one done. And I still think he does, man. But I can see Volkanovski even cruising for stretches in this fight. But Diego Lopes is someone who is not going to give up on himself, not going to quit in any moment of that fight. And like we've talked about, he's very, very deadly in all areas. Like, very dangerous off his back. Throws those machine gun combinations. Like, yes, not as polished as Volkanovski in the things that he does, but the ability to bring chaos and danger into this situation is where Diego Lopes thrives, man. So, guys, are you taking age, hunger, raw chaos, or are we taking the veteran who we think has the ability to pull in one more all-time great performance, man? Like, if anyone can do it, it is Alexander Volkanovski, but no one beats Father Time. I'm super curious as to know where you guys are leaning on a matchup like this, but I have to give faith to Alexander Volkanovski. Like, his skills, I really do believe in those skills. And beyond the skills, the mentality, man. Like, Volkanovski has not had an easy road and has never quit or given up on himself. So you can tell the hunger and the fire is there. I think it's going to be enough to rewrite the clock and, like I said, give us again another performance. And for him to recapture that belt at featherweight, I think secures his spot as the greatest featherweight to ever do it in the UFC, man. Like, there's a lot riding on this fight in terms of the overarching status of Volkanovski's career. So I have a lot of faith that Volkanovski, is going to be able to do a lot of good things in this spot and open a lot of eyes in just how skilled he still really is in this division. But don't get me wrong, man. Like, Lopes can change this fight with one shot. So, Volkanovski is going to have to be perfect in this one, man. Co-main event, Paddy, Pimblett, Michael Chandler. What a fight. Predictions, I have to lean Paddy Pimblett, man. Like, as much as I can see a path to victory for Michael Chandler, and it would be awesome to see him go and get a highlight reel KO of Paddy, Paddy doesn't really stand in front of you like that, man. Like, maybe in his earlier UFC fights against lower level competition, he was more happy to stand in front of you a bit more. Regardless, he has a good chin when he gets hit clean, and he's really leveled up his ability between mixing those ranges to get the fight to his strength. His ground game is really, really good, and I think although Chandler has faced great grapplers in this division, I think Paddy Pimblett will be able to have great success on the ground and controlling this fight for long periods of the time on Michael Chandler's back. Because, guys, this is 5 rounds. Yes, Paddy Pimblett has never fought 5 rounds in the UFC, but he's coming as a Cage Warriors champion. Like, he has prepared for 5-round contests for sure. and, has gone the 5 in Cage Warriors. So although we have never seen Paddy in a matchup or a position like this in the UFC, I think the timing of everything, it suits him perfectly. And for a top 5 matchup, or a matchup just outside the top 5 to crack in and get into title contention, it's a pretty favourable matchup for Paddy Pimblett. Michael Chandler, yes, he's been in there with the elite of the division, but someone who makes very, very poor mistakes in the fights. And I think his record inside the UFC reflects that, man. Like, clearly he is here to entertain the fans. And he's made a lot of money and we all love him for that. But when it comes to achieving greatness and winning a belt in this weight class, yeah, the sort of decisions and the fight IQ he brings into these contests really, really sets him back and is a big detrimental to him going forward and achieving the greatness that, potentially he could, man. Like, Chandler's a great fighter, and although he's been a lot more one-dimensional in his run in the UFC, if you see his run in Bellator, like, beat a lot of good fighters and, yeah, like, showed ability to stay calm and make good decisions. So we're going to have to see that Michael Chandler in this fight. Otherwise, I think he's just going to get controlled, potentially even submitted. Like, Paddy Pimblett's jiu-jitsu is nasty, and he chains it all together so well. Like, does a great job of chaining submission attacks, as you saw in his last fight against Bobby Green. So give me Paddy Pimblett all day. I love him in this fight, and I would not be surprised if he submits Michael Chandler in this spot. Bryce Mitchell, John Silva. I would love to pick Bryce. I would love to see Bryce win just because the guy needs a win at the moment. Like, let's just say it how it is, man. Like, absolutely dragged through the mud recently. And say what you will about, you don't have to agree with what he said or his stance necessarily, but yeah, the guy's been dragged through the mud enough, and I think the matchmakers are doing it a little bit as well, to be honest, man. Like, what a tough matchup he has here in John Silva, coming off a deadly knockout, a bad brain injury, if we're going to say it how it is, to Josh Emmett, and that has to shake your confidence. Coming in against a power puncher like John Silva, someone who not only has showed his power in this weight class, but has gone up to lightweight and done great up there as well. So power-wise, Bryce Mitchell is going to be completely out of his depth here. The only saving grace for Bryce is if he can get some takedowns and control this fight on the ground for 15 minutes. If he's not able to do that, if he can't take John Silva down, he's going to get finished on the feet, because John Silva cracks, like, really, really powerful. But not only that, man, he has a great ability, knows his own game very well about getting that power to the target. Very, very at home in the skill set that he possesses, and does a great job of making people feel that power, man. Like, and I have to think that Bryce Mitchell is going to get hit clean in this fight. And if he gets hit clean by John Silva, he's going to go down for sure. I don't think John Silva has necessarily fought someone with the style of jiu-jitsu that Bryce Mitchell has, and that can give you fits. Like, Bryce Mitchell was able to take down Ilia Topuria a couple times. So don't get me wrong, I think Bryce Mitchell's skills on the ground are getting overlooked a little bit in terms of the odds, but I just don't think he's going to be able to take that power. And I think John Silva, the momentum and the streak that he's on, you have to respect that, and that has to go into the breakdown when we're looking at this fight, because Bryce Mitchell's someone who has had a long time off, coming off the most devastating loss of their career so far. So yeah, as much as I would love to see the underdog come in and get a twister or something, I have to side with John Silva. And I think John Silva, although Bryce Mitchell's tough, I think John Silva has the ability and the tools to get him out of there within the first 2 rounds. Yair Rodriguez, Pitbull. Guys, this is going to be fireworks. Patricio, Pitbull, talking about former Bellator fighters, I think this is most likely the greatest Bellator fighter to ever do it. And unfortunately, we got him in the UFC a little bit late. The guy's almost 40 years old now, but if he can come in and give us 3 or 4 super entertaining fights, make a whole lot of cash, I don't even know if he's going to win the belt. Like, I doubt he wins the belt in this weight class now. But I think regardless, if we think it's a bit too late, I'm glad he's in the UFC. And this matchup specifically against Yair Rodriguez, what a tough fight to start. Yair Rodriguez, someone who is so dynamic in what they do, very authentic style to the point where you're going to be very, very hard pressed to find someone who can emulate Yair Rodriguez. Like, the speed, the power of those kicks, you're going to feel for the first time when you're in that octagon. And it's a super dangerous fight, but for Pitbull. Like, Pitbull, someone who over the last few years has had some up and down performances. And don't get me wrong, so has Yair Rodriguez. But stylistically, when we're looking at this fight, I really like Yair Rodriguez. Like, the range he fights at, how small Pitbull is for this 145-pound division, stature-wise. I think the range, like Pitbull trying to get into punching range, he's going to be walking through knees, kicks. Like, I can really see Pitbull walking into a dangerous setup from Yair Rodriguez on the back foot. And then even if this fight hits the ground, Yair Rodriguez has shown to have a very active guard. Like, I doubt he would submit Patricio Pitbull, but if he hurts him and they find themselves on the ground, like, Pitbull is not safe here resting in Yair Rodriguez's guard. And don't get me wrong, I would love to see Pitbull come out and have a very, very exciting debut, get the win, propel himself to the top of this division, but I just can't look past Yair Rodriguez in this fight. Like, I think Yair Rodriguez has the perfect style to beat Pitbull at the stage he is in his career. And like we spoke about, that authentic striking style, you're going to be experiencing that for the first time in there. And yeah, I think Patricio Pitbull just needs to make one mistake and this fight is over. So yeah, give me Yair Rodriguez, and I think he's going to finish this fight. I can see a TKO or a club and sub even, but Patricio Pitbull has fought only elite fighters for the last 10 years. So don't get me wrong, this is a very competitive fight. And if Patricio Pitbull comes in there and beats Yair Rodriguez, like we said, he's propelled to the top of this division, and yeah, really starts to get interesting for him there. And the opener of the main card, unfortunately, Carlos Prates, Jeff Neal, cancelled. But we have Nikita Krylov, Dominic Reyes bumping up from the prelims to the main card. I think it's a really tough fight for Dominic Reyes, to be totally honest with you. Yes, he turned back the clock, had a good finish over Dustin Jacoby. Nikita Krylov is a really tough fight for anyone in this division, man. And I think Dominic Reyes will have the advantage in the long-range striking. I think just based off Dominic Reyes and the crumble his career has faced over the last 3 years, like, if this fight was happening 2 or 3 years ago when Dominic Reyes was on that rise, I would have picked Dominic Reyes in this spot 100%. But I think confidence, self-belief, all of those factors that Dominic Reyes really, really had to deeply look in the mirror, search for an answer within himself. I think that has had a big impact, not only on his fighting style, but the mentality that he carries into fights. And I think Nikita Krylov, you never have to question that about him. And stylistically, I think he can do a lot of good work on the ground here. I think if he gets Dominic Reyes down, he can, really show levels in the grappling ranges. So very, very intriguing fight. I think Dominic Reyes, interesting character who, it was definitely great to see him get a win after all of the hardship that he's faced, like we've said, over those last 2 to 3 years. But styles make fights, unfortunately, and I think Nikita Krylov has all of the tools to come in here and take a decision over Dominic Reyes. So I'm going to take Nikita Krylov by decision. And that being said, I would love to see Dom come in and have a great performance, but too many question marks, unfortunately, for me to feel truly confident picking him and his abilities in a matchup like that. Guys, we have a stacked prelims as well. Like, this card is fireworks. And I have no questions in my mind that it's going to deliver on an entertainment value aspect as well. So let me know what you guys think. Who are your locks of the card? Who are you happy to part with your hard-earned money for? I would love to hear it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you could like, comment, and subscribe, I would really, really appreciate that. And we will chat soon.